Today we're talking all about soft knee, high ratio compression. And this is really great on things like vocals and even acoustic guitars, and as you'll see in this mix, even on something like a fiddle. Now, the high ratio implies basically limiting, but normally we would never use a limiter on vocals or an acoustic guitar because it's just too aggressive. It just kind of ruins the sound. It may put it in a dynamic pocket that we really like, but it compromises the sound too much, and that has to do with the knee and the peak detection. Now, the knee is a part of the compressor that it's just not getting enough attention. I don't hear it talked about enough, and it's very, very important. So yes, the soft knee high ratio compression is something that's very useful to know about. So today, that's what we're going to dive into. If you've ever used, say, the 1176 LA2A combo on a vocal, which is wonderful, but you found that your LA2A just couldn't drive hard enough to get the leveling that you wanted, then this video is going to help you out. And if you stick around to the end of the video, we'll also talk about the peak detection techniques. So let's dive right in and take a listen. So let's take a listen to the lead vocal with no compression on. All that's on the lead vocal is a high pass and a little bit of transformer saturation, and that is it. Other than that, there's no processing on the vocal. So take a listen to this verse, especially the second line in the verse, and you'll hear the lack of compression.
When my first love left me here, alone and cried and filled with fear, you moved me.
Right? So the loud stuff's a little too loud, the quiet stuff's a little too quiet. I'm going to play it again, and then I'm going to turn on Pro C2 here, and then I'll tell you about the settings.
When my first love left me here, alone and cried and filled with fear, you moved me.
And turn it on.
When my first love left me here, alone and cried and filled with fear, you moved me.
Right, so nice compression there. We're leveling it out quite a bit, and it's nice and transparent, which is the point of this method. It's just really acting as a leveler. And on that note, I want to show you that we are level matched. So here's the vocal bypassed.
When my first love left me here.
And we came in right at like negative 17.5, and compressor on.
When my first love left me here.
It's really important to level match and making sure that you're hearing what the compressor's actually doing and not just hearing something louder.
Time with the seasons you have flown.
So you can see we're getting 8-9 dB of gain reduction on the lead vocal pretty consistently. For the louder notes, it's actually about 12 dB of gain reduction. That's exactly what we're after. We want a lot of gain reduction, but we want to just use the compressor in this method as a leveler. We're not trying to sculpt the sound at all. We'll do that later with the Fairchild, and I'll show you. So this is not a one-and-done compression method. What this is a really great technique to use a compressor as basically a leveler for soft sounding stuff. I don't want to change Arthur's vocal in a way that's going to be noticeable. I'm not trying to do a lot of tone shaping with the compressor. And this technique works really good on acoustic guitar, and I even have it on the fiddle in this song, but anything that doesn't have a lot of transient information, this is just a really great way to balance out a signal. Pro C2 here is set to opto, and any RMS setting will work. And any compressor will work that has RMS detection and a really nice soft knee. I have the knee set all the way to soft, and the ratio is at 10:1. So we're basically limiting, but we're making a really transparent, smooth, gentle limiter. Now the attack is very slow for a vocal. It's at 50 milliseconds. And that is really important. With this kind of gain reduction, if you were to speed the attack up, then you're going to be sculpting the vocal a lot. which is not what we're trying to do here. The release is also very slow. For this song, it's 160 milliseconds because I do want it to recover before the next lines come in, but that's the idea here. The knee is soft as it'll go, slow attack, slow release, and set to RMS detection, and that's it. This is a very easy way to just use a compressor as a leveler. And I have a really good ratio, it's 10-1, and then I engage the threshold until I'm getting a lot of gain reduction. The whole point here is like a soft pillow limiting as opposed to a brick wall limiter. And the reason the limiters don't sound good on vocals is because of that peak detection and the harder knee, it just compromises the sound. So by turning the knee all the way to soft, what that's doing is allowing the threshold to go to work on the gain reduction in a much more gentler curve. So the threshold of the compressor determines at which point the compressor starts to go to work and perform gain reduction, and the ratio is how hard it's pushing down on the signal. And with the hard knee, everything that hits the threshold gets 100% of the compressor's action right away. With the soft knee, that gain reduction becomes a much more loose and gradual effect. What I'm using today to show you the soft knee high ratio compression is FabFilter's Pro C2. A lot of compressors will offer a knee control, but they may not be as soft as you might want. And if you're looking for a great free alternative to Pro C2 for this method at least, TDR Kotelnikov here is a wonderful free compressor, and it can do soft knee hard ratio compression really, really well. And there is a video right there on their YouTube channel explaining how to use this. It also offers a great peak crest feature, peak versus RMS detection here, so very useful. We're going to go to this next line and listen with the compressor bypassed.
You've held me harvest seeds.
And compressor on.
You've held me harvest seeds.
Interesting to see that you're getting, 8 or 9 dB of gain reduction, and it's almost unnoticeable except for the leveling. It's very leveled out and very smooth.
You've held me harvest seeds. I had sown.
And it'll be really noticeable in a line like this. So no compression.
Left behind my grief and tears and soothe me.
Compression on.
Left behind my grief and tears and soothe me.
Pop it in the mix. Compressor bypassed.
Left behind my grief and tears and soothe me.
Yeah, see that? A lot of those words are disappearing in the mix. Compressor on.
Left behind my grief and tears and soothe me.
Now, on the acoustic guitar here, it's the same idea. I have slow attack, slow release. The release is a little faster because the guitar's strumming. Ratio 10-1, and the knee is soft as it'll go. With a gentle, soft acoustic guitar, you are always looking for a compressor that you don't notice. Ideally, you don't want any at all, but this is a good method for acoustic guitar as well. So let's take a listen to the acoustic with this compressor bypassed. And compressor on. Yeah, that's a big difference. It's just leveling it out without compromising the more transient information there in the acoustic. And I did use a similar method on the fiddle, actually. Let's find a fiddle solo. Take a listen to this fiddle with no compression. Compressor on. Yeah, huge difference. And it's super transparent. This is not changing the texture or the color of the transients and the attack side of the ADSR on that fiddle. And I did the same thing. It's set to opto, super soft knee, slow attack. This one is a little faster. It's at 30 milliseconds and a very slow release. But yeah, this is just a great way to dial in a leveler, basically. It's a really, really nice technique. Now, let's hop back over to the lead vocal, and I want to address the rest of the vocal chain compression. For those of you that stuck around this far, let's talk about the Fairchild. The leveler on the vocal is great, but I still want a vocal compression chain that is attacking that first part of the ADSR and kind of sucking the pronunciation and articulation to the foreground in the mix. And so let's take a listen again without the Fairchild.
So when the problems cloud your mind,
Fairchild on.
so when the problems cloud your mind.
Do you hear how much more pronunciation there is? The Fairchild is grabbing enunciations and kind of pulling them to the forward of the mix. That's what I hear.
So when the problems cloud your mind,
It's much more articulate. Bypassed?
so when the problems cloud your mind,
Back on?
so when the problems cloud your mind.
So this comes in the chain right before the Pro C2, set to its fastest time constant, which is a super fast attack and fast release. The input gain, which is different on the Fairchild than you might think, this is actually not boosting at all. What it's doing is just engaging all of the tube emulation circuitry. This is really accurately modeled to the original. So I have the gain structure here set so I'm using a lot of the warm tube energy and not really engaging the threshold very far into the signal. This headroom control here on the UAD Fairchild is very crucial. That is actually behaving more like the input gain the way you might think of it. So with this dialed in this way, this is kind of doing the job of the 1176 in the LA2A combo serial compression, but I like the sound of the Fairchild on Arthur's voice here. I just really like how it kind of sucks the performance to the foreground. And yes, this is level matched. Let's go to another line. Take a listen again. Bypassed.
With the clouds, old Father Time is leaving.
And Fairchild on.
With the clouds, old Father Time is leaving.
Yeah, I love it. It's made all of the enunciation and the consonants that much more pronounced. It's warming up the front end of the vocal, and it's great. And this feeds right into the leveler with Pro C2. So if you're like most people on YouTube trying to figure out how to get better at mixing, you have all of the information at your fingertips. You have countless videos to watch, but maybe you still find yourself struggling. Now, that's very normal because mixing is part technical and part artistic, and there are no hard rules. So all of the rules are there to be broken, and that's why personal knowledge and experience is so valuable in this field. One of my recent clients said that what he really wanted to know wasn't what the knobs were doing or how to turn them, but more the thought process behind it. And that's the most valuable thing that you can only get from experience. If you find yourself in that situation, I highly encourage you to consider a one-on-one mix consultation. It's a great way to get your questions answered. We meet on Zoom and you can show me your DAW and show me your plugins and show me your thought process, and then I can share mine. You can learn from me one-on-one, and it's a really great way to fast-track that learning curve to mixing. It's really helpful to have some one-on-one advice and coaching. And here's a testimonial from one of my recent clients. He's also a really great drummer and drum instructor, and I'll link to his page here in the description below the video. But he was a great student, and in just a handful of sessions, he went from not really having any kind of systematic approach to being able to very quickly mix his drums that he recorded to a really good level and get them off and running. So if you've been looking for a way to fast track your learning curve, I highly encourage you to buy your time back and invest in a little bit of coaching. You know, for the price of the next couple plugins you might have bought, you could learn how to turn those knobs and get some insight as to the logic and thought process behind mixing. So if that sounds good to you, my email is in the description. Just hit me up and we can talk about it. And I look forward to hearing from you. But thanks again for all your support, and thanks for checking out the video, and I'll catch you on the next one.